Alright, I'm back again with another collection video, this time moving on to the PS2. One of my favorite consoles of all time. I said that also the last time for the PS3, but this was the first console that I got for myself, just for myself. And I bought a lot of these games when I was a kid with my own money. So lots of memories here, lots of nostalgia for this system. I think I have maybe around 300 games, so a bit more than for the PS3, but less than for the PS4. Yeah, let's get straight into it, starting off with a demo disc. Now, this is the only demo disc that I have. I've been trying to get more of these, but there's always someone in these online auctions who wants them more and is willing to pay just stupid amounts of money for them. So only this one demo disc. I got this with some gaming magazine, I think. This is for March 2002, so I got this in 2002. And I think this demo disc goes to show how great of a system the PS2 is. Lots of great games here. So you have playable demos of Herdy Gerdy, which was I think it's an okay game. Half-Life 2, the port of the PC game for the PS2. Really good port. I like that one a lot. Dynasty Warriors 3, very nostalgic game for me. Also my favorite game in the series. I think it's the best Dynasty Warriors 3 game out there. Maximo, really fun 3D action game. And then some games that I don't really know much about. Also, trailers for Deus Ex, the PC game. Also another very good PS2 port. I like that port a lot. Also a trailer for Ico, Stuntman. That's a forgotten series. The Stuntman games were pretty fun. Also has Ace Combat trailer and a Space Channel 5 trailer, Virtua Fighter 4. So just a lot of good games here represented. They made a lot of these demo discs, so this is number 18. I don't actually know how many there are, but dozens and dozens of these demo discs. Very, very good stuff. I like these demo discs a lot. Obviously, nothing like that exists anymore for the newer consoles, which is unfortunate, right? A horror title. This is the PS2 version of Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. This was originally a PS1 game, and I'm pretty sure this version is very different from the PS1 version. I don't have the PS1. Alone in the Dark, New Nightmare. Only got this one, but plays a lot like something like Resident Evil. Fixed camera angles, survival horror. It's an okay game. Nothing special in my opinion, but worth owning if you like horror games. Now, a couple of Ape Escape games here. Ape Escape 2 and 3. I never remember which one is which. I think the second one is the one that I like the best, but the third one has this... No, the third one is the one with all these different movie genres and whatnot, as you can see from the cover. So that's a lot of fun as well. Both of these games are pretty great. The second one, I believe, is complete, yes. This is the era when kids were using permanent marker with their games. So someone else has marked these with marker. So I've got this used. And then the third one is incomplete. Yes, that's unfortunate. I'll have to pick a complete copy of this at some point. This is a rental game originally. Finnish rental title with the sticker on the cover art and not the plastic, so I can't really remove it. So I have to upgrade this at some point. Some of the best PS2 platforming games out there. Next up, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. A game that I played just a couple of years ago, wasn't really impressed with that much. It's an alright Baldur's Gate game. Plays a lot like Diablo. So it's a hack and slash game. It's not an RPG like the old Baldur's Gate games. It plays a lot like Diablo. It's a hack and slash game. Yeah, there's also a sequel which I don't have, so only played the first one. Next up, a game that was very, very hyped before launch, but didn't really live up to the hype. This is an FPS game. Very impressive graphics and effects for the PS2. Also, this is a rarer copy than the usual European ones, because this is all in Finnish. So this is the Finnish retail release for Black, with full-on Finnish back cover, and also the manual has Finnish and Swedish. But yeah, a very run-of-the-mill FPS title. It's alright, nothing special. Now, this one I like a lot, Beyond Good and Evil. When I'm opening these cases, I'm doing it because it felt light, so I was checking if it was complete. Around 99% of my PS2 collection is complete in box. I very rarely pick up games that don't have the manuals. So I'll try to show the ones that I know that are incomplete. There are a couple of ones here, but most of these are complete. Beyond Good and Evil, this is getting an HD remaster, remake, whatever, for the PS5, which is very nice. I like this game a lot. The sequel is probably never going to be released, but yeah. This is a hub-based third-person action game, exploration game. Also a photography game, because you have this, you are a photojournalist. So you are unveiling this government conspiracy and doing it as a journalist. So very interesting game. I think the game has aged exceptionally well. It isn't that many years since I last played it, and I thought it was really fun still, so definitely worth checking out. This is a third-person shooter, Brothers in Arms, Road to Hill 30. I believe this is the first one in the series. I don't have the other PlayStation 2 title. I think there's one more, or maybe two more of these. Yeah, I remember liking this a lot. So this is one of those third-person shooters where you are commanding a unit. So in addition to being just a shooter, it's also like a tactics strategy game. Also plays pretty well. The controls for these types of games are always quite clunky on a PS2, but it works just fine enough. Right, Burnout 3 Takedown. One of the best racing games probably ever made. Just insane amounts of content with all the different game modes, all the different party game modes. You can play with multiple people doing all kinds of stunts and these like crashes in this game mode where you're trying to make as much damage as possible. You're getting points for it. A really fun racing game. Then we have one of the best PS2 games out there. This is Canis Canem Edit, or Bully as it's known in the US. So one of these games that had a different title for different regions. But yeah, this is a game by Rockstar. A lot of people have resurrected interest in this game in recent years with YouTube videos and whatnot. I remember playing this at launch on a PS2 and was completely blown away by it. It's basically a GTA game, but like in a very sustained environment in this school and the surrounding town. So it's not really an open world game in the same sense as GTA, but it does have the same kind of GTA style open world elements to it. Lots of humor. The mission structure is very similar. You have these different people that give you missions, and just a great 3D like brawler beat 'em up as well. Right. One of the titles that I played the most on a PS2 back in the day is Conflict Desert Storm 2. This is a third-person shooter. And one of the great things about this game is that it's ridiculously fun to play, great controls, just a lot of different styles of play. You have snipers, you have like assault units. You can play as an engineer using explosives, and this also has split screen couch co-op for the complete campaign. So I played this with my cousin over and over again. Great memories, great game. I don't have the first one in the series. I only played that second one. There's also a third one, which I don't have. Right. Another 3D brawler. This is Crimson Tears, released by Capcom. Not the greatest game. I've seen this climbing up in price recently, which is very surprising because I think this is very generic and just not that great of a brawler. Some of the boss fights in this game are awful, like really poorly designed, just way too difficult for the control scheme. The controls in this game are very sloppy, very, very tankish. Yeah. Luckily, I've bought most of my PS2 collection back in a day when these games were very cheap. So I have a lot of games here that are quite expensive now, but I've never paid that much money for PS2 games, to be honest. I'll probably mention it at some point when I pick up something that I've paid a lot of money for. I'll probably mention it, but most of these I've got for next to nothing. So this one, under 10 euros, wouldn't pay more for it. Honestly, not really worth it, in my opinion. Right. Great fighting game. Dead or Alive 2, probably the pinnacle of this series. I haven't played all of them, but this one is really fun. Also, Finnish back cover for this one as well. Great character designs. I've always preferred something like Tekken over this, but yeah. Nice fan service right there in the manual. The characters in this game, I don't think they are this revealing most of the time. The Dead or Alive series is known for having these like bikini costumes for the characters and so on, but in general, this game is like, it's not as fan servicey as some of the later games. Right, another great fighting game. This one is very underrated. One of my favorite PS2 games of all time, definitely. Def Jam Fight for New York. So this is a fighting game, a 3D fighting game. You can move around the fight arenas quite freely. Has some 1v1 fights, also for 4 character matches. And this one is known for the roster of characters here, if I can show it. So all of these rappers are playable characters in a game. You have Busta Rhymes, you have, who else is here, Snoop Dogg, you have Method Man, Redman, Warren G, Exhibit, Ghostface Killah. So a bunch of the Def Jam hip-hop artists, also other artists and other celebrities. You have Henry Rollins here as one of the trainers, the punk artist Henry Rollins, known from Black Flag. But yeah, this is a ridiculously fun fighting game. The campaign story mode is insane. It's a full-on, like, you can play this just single player and have a great time because the story mode is such a ridiculous one. Basically, you have these 2 competing gangs that all these rappers are part of, and you are working for one of these groups and fighting against the other one. Lots of backstabbing, lots of revenges. Very, very fun storyline. Yeah, let's move on. Destroy All Humans, the first one. This also has a remake, remaster, whatever, on a PS4. Very fun PS2 game. Also a game that has aged very well, so it still plays great. So it's basically a third-person shooter with a lot of emphasis on this UFO humor. Lots of probing, lots of abducting cows, and so on. Next up, we have Deus Ex, which I already mentioned at the start of the video. A very good PS2 port for this classic PC game. One of my favorite games of all time. Not necessarily an FPS title. It is a first-person shooter, but it's more like a role-playing game. Right. Disgaea, this is the original one from the series. Also the only one that I've played from the series. Good tactics RPG. Not really much to say here. Has a lot of post-game content. I have never played everything that this game has to offer because it would take hundreds and hundreds of hours. So I've beaten the main storyline, played some of the extras, but yeah, a really fun tactics RPG. I also mentioned at the start of the video Dynasty Warriors 3. This is my original copy that I bought. I don't even want to think how many years ago, like 20 years ago. This is the first Dynasty Warriors game that I played, and still my favorite one. The amount of characters and the different play styles, and the voice acting, my god, the voice acting is so great in this one. It's so bad, but it's amazing. Yeah, Dynasty Warriors 3. I don't have any other Dynasty Warriors games for the PS2, apparently. Maybe I do in a closet, but not here. Right, some great sports games from a series that doesn't exist anymore. So, Fight Night Round 2 and Fight Night Round 3 boxing games. These are very different games from one another. Also, I'm missing the original. I only have the second and third ones. These two games are very different. A lot of people prefer the third one because it's more realistic, but I really like the second one a lot. It's an arcade game almost. Like it's very arcadey, not realistic at all. So I like this one a lot. Very fun boxing games. Great music, a lot of characters. So these are licensed games. You have all these real fighters in them. Here you have Roy Jones Jr. The character creator is really good. Like, look at these characters that you can make in a game. Are there any real examples here? Not really. I mean, these are not. These are not the type of characters that you can create in a game, but these character creators, this is so much better than any of the EA Sports games have nowadays. If you look at the Madden games, for example, the character creator in that game series is just a joke in comparison to some of these PS2 games. So you could create a very detailed character in these games. But yeah. Great sports titles for the PS2. Right, moving on to the next stack. What do we have here? Some more sports titles. This is ESPN NFL 2K5. Some say this is the best American football game out there. I don't know if I agree with that because I never played this when I was a kid. I played Madden 2005. I like that one a lot. But yeah, this is one of the best sports games on the system, definitely. I like the animations a lot. It does have some issues with it, like the player editing is very poor in this game, worse than in Madden games. So you can't, for example, change the positions of the players, which is very annoying, and you cannot play players out of position. So you're stuck with some of the players in positions you don't necessarily want to have them in. But yeah, great sports game. Now, Fahrenheit, or as Americans know it, Indigo Prophecy, is a game that I already mentioned in one of the PS4 videos, but this was my first introduction to David Cage. And ever since I played this game back in the day, I have had a love-hate relationship with the games that man has made. This is probably my favorite David Cage game, just because I played this as a kid, so there's a lot of nostalgia here. I never finished this game more than, let's say, 2 times, but I played the first hour or so dozens and dozens of times, where the start of the game in the diner and some of the missions after that, just fantastic stuff. The storyline goes completely off the rails at around, let's say, third way through the game, and it's insane. The game is insane, and David Cage is also insane. He's as insane as the people in the asylum at the game. So there's an asylum level in the game, and there are a bunch of people there who are not really well. And I think David Cage should put him in that level. One of the fun things about this game is that it also features David Cage as a character. He is in a tutorial. There's a 3D model of David Cage giving you instructions on how to play the game. It's very bizarre, right? Next up, a classic game from Finnish game development. This is the original FlatOut. So a racing game, seatbelts not included. One of the great things about this game is that all the cars are just completely destructible, and the levels as well. So lots of destruction, lots of mayhem in this one. Also has great mini games in it. Next up, some horror titles. These are getting quite expensive. So these are the original Forbidden Siren titles, the first and the second one. Very unique survival horror games. I don't think there's really anything like them out there. These are primarily stealth games, and they have a very unnerving atmosphere, very dark, and they feel like the quintessential PlayStation 2 survival horror titles. The atmosphere is like, if you've played PS2 games, you get what I mean, but these feel like PS2 games. The feel and look of them is just it's not replicable in modern games anymore. Also, these have the very interesting mechanic in them that when you are near enemies, you can change perspectives and see through the eyes of the enemies. So when you're sneaking around, you can go sit in a safe corner and then look through the eyes of all the enemies. Like where are the enemies and what are they looking at? How can you get around them? Very interesting games. Also, fantastic soundtracks. Some of the best soundtracks on the PS2, especially for the second game. Now, also, I think I paid like $20 for the second one, and less than that for the first one. So you can't get them for that price anymore. Right, one of the most underrated PS2 titles, in my opinion. This is the original Genji, and this is like a cardboard, some kind of limited edition. Doesn't have anything extra, I don't think. Yeah, just a manual and a disc. The cardboard cover. This is a fantastic third-person action game. Very underrated, as I said. I never played the sequel, but I don't really care about it. It's not supposedly very good. This one, on the other hand, great storyline, fun characters. You have multiple characters here that you can play as. And if I remember correctly, you can pick which character you want to use for the levels. So you can play the same levels, basically swapping between the different characters. And they play very differently. The bald guy with the hammer is my favorite one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Genji, definitely worth checking out. Another game that I liked a lot on the PS2 that also has this limited edition cardboard slip is Ghost in a Shell Standalone Complex. Does not have the manual, unfortunately, but does come with the slip, so I'll try to get the manual separately at some point. This is a third-person shooter. Not the best one out there, but plays very well. has a lot of movement options, so you can do backflips and all kinds of wall running and stuff. Works very well. This is obviously also a licensed game. I really like the Ghost in a Shell standalone complex anime series, so yeah. This doesn't have the music by Yoko Kanno, unfortunately. I probably said the name incorrectly, but who cares? So the music in this one isn't as good. It is trying to emulate the same style with this electronic sound. Very, very unique music for the series. Yeah, it's a good game. I like it. Right, one of my childhood favorites, Ghost Recon Jungle Storm. So this is a Tom Clancy modern military shooter third-person game. I think this is an FPS. Yeah, this is an FPS game. This is not third-person. Maybe you can switch between those modes. I don't know. I played this in first-person. Yeah, this has great split-screen modes and also works very well as a single-player game. You're, again, commanding a unit of soldiers. You're one of them. You can make them charge or fall back and whatever. Very challenging game. You die from 1 or 2 bullets. So very, very challenging game to get through, but definitely worth the trouble. Also, the campaign missions have this same kind of system that the old Rainbow Six games had, where your characters, depending on whether they get shot or whatever, they can die in one mission and then you cannot use them for the rest of the campaign. So there's kind of permadeath and also injuries in the game. So very challenging, very fun. Now, here's one of the best PS2 games, definitely God of War 2. I don't have the original one on the PS2. I've played the PS3 version, but yeah, I have the second one here. Just a classic third-person action game. Then I have a bunch of Grand Theft Auto titles. The third game, Liberty City Stories, San Andreas, Vice City, and Vice City Stories. So 5 GTA titles here. Originally, when I got the PS2, GTA 3 was the game that I got with it. I was allowed to pick 3 used games when I got the system. So 3 used games for the price of 2. GTA 3 was one of them. Not a game that I probably should have been playing at around 10 years old, but who cares? It was a great time. Yeah. This was a mind-blowing game back in the day. They released the newer, updated HD version for the PS4 and PS5 recently. I haven't checked it out. Apparently, it's not very good. But I don't know if the younger generations can ever get the feeling that we got when GTA 2 it was a great game, top-down shooter, but then they released GTA 3. The jump from top-down 2D gameplay to 3D open-world game was just insane. It was insane. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even believe that it was possible. These games also had these fantastic manuals that are like, they look like tourist guides, basically. It's only in Finnish, so you can't read it, but yeah. And they also had these posters. This one is not that big, so I can probably show it. Yeah. GTA games always come with these great posters and maps. And this is an era of gaming that I feel extremely nostalgic for. And GTA is one of the biggest reasons for that. So the third game was mind-blowing. Then they released Vice City, which is probably like twice as good as the third one. Like the third one is very good. I like it a lot, but it hasn't aged extremely well. It is quite clunky and quite simple in many ways. Vice City has aged extremely well. Great aesthetic with all the disco music and the Florida Miami Vice stuff. Just fantastic game. They also released Vice City Stories, which is more of the same, basically. It's like an extra storyline. Alien Stole My Brain. It's extra missions, extra storylines. Some of the same characters reappear, and so on. Yeah. Also worth checking out. And then there is, there's also Liberty City Stories. I can't remember the order in which these were released, but yeah, so this is GTA 3, more stuff for GTA 3. And then they released San Andreas, which is just incredible. By far my favorite GTA game ever. I prefer this over, like, GTA 5 is obviously, in terms of gameplay and the game world, like, it's the best one. There's no doubt about it. It's the best one, but I don't really feel as nostalgic for it. The San Andreas storyline, all the characters, playing as CJ, like, yeah, I mean, this is it for me. Like, this is the pinnacle of the GTA series so far. Now the sixth one, it could be the best one, but I don't know. Nostalgia plays a big part in this era of gaming for me. So, San Andreas, Vice City, great games. Right, some Guitar Hero. I played a lot of Guitar Hero titles during this era. I still have the guitar controller somewhere stored. But yeah, a style of game that doesn't really exist anymore. These they made just way too many of these, and the fad wore off quite quickly. Yeah, the first one. Is there like a list of songs here anywhere? Not really. That's unfortunate. I remember this one having. It had War Pigs by Black Sabbath, right? No. That was in the second game. This has Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. That's a great song. And the second one, is there a song list here? No, that's unfortunate. This one has War Pigs by Black Sabbath. And also, I think this has Unsung by Helmet. This has some Alice in Chains, like Them Bones by Alice in Chains. I may be like mixing up the song list for this first and second games, but yeah, just a lot of classic metal songs and like rock songs in these games. The second one has Buckethead in it as well. That one I remember. Right, Half-Life doesn't have the manual, unfortunately, but just a really good port of the first Half-Life game. I like this one a lot. Obviously plays better on a PC, but this is again one of those games that blew my mind as a young kid. The opening section of this game, when you're just on a train going to work, you're just walking around the facility talking with these NPC characters, which was really strange. You're just walking around your workplace. There are people in a cafeteria talking about like casseroles that are a casserole that exploded in the microwave, and just this casual chit chat. I hadn't seen that in a video game before. And then the storyline picks up. You're transported into this alien world, and the opening section of this game is just masterful. One of the best openings to a video game ever made. Right. Here's a game that's very expensive now. Haunting Ground. This copy is completely in mint condition. Does have manual as well. Right. So for the Americans out there, this is known as one of the most expensive PS2 games out there. For us Europeans, this is known as a game that you could buy new and sealed still like 5 years ago for less than 20 euros. So this game cost close to nothing just a couple of years ago. And because Americans started pumping up the prices, obviously Europeans follow in suit, so this is a very expensive game now. So had I known this would get so expensive, I would have bought like 10 copies of this sealed and just stored them in some box. But yeah, what can you do? One of the top horror games on a PS2, definitely. Plays a lot like Clock Tower. I mean, it is a Clock Tower spin-off game. Also worth mentioning here, the dog in this game is fantastic. The AI for this dog companion character in this game is so freaking good. I can't even believe they were able to make it so good on a PS2. Yes, definitely worth playing. Now, here is another game that I mentioned at the start of the video, Herdy Gerdy. I played the demo as a kid and I really liked that demo. I played it over and over and over again. I only got this physical copy of the game years later, so I played this maybe like 8 or 9 years ago, and it wasn't the best experience. It's an alright game. So basically, it's a third-person like puzzle game. You are trying to. There are all these different weird creatures that you're trying to lure into these containers. So it's like it's a tournament in which people are trying to Herdy Gerdy, that's the name, herd these fantastical creatures like in a competition setting into these fenced areas. Very strange game. The controls aren't the greatest, but yeah, I mean it's fine. Next up, I have here Ico. This is the European limited edition with the Nordic covers. Fantastic cover art. I already talked about this game in one of the PS3 videos. I like this game a lot, and for the people who hate on this game, like, you weren't around back in the day probably when this game was just something completely unique, so I get it why a lot of the newer generation probably don't like this game that much. This also comes with obviously the manual, but comes with some art cards. There are 2 of them here. One-sided art cards. The art cards are strange because I've seen some copies of this have more than 2 cards. And I'm not exactly sure how many there are supposed to be. I don't know if the different regions got a different amount of them, but this Finnish one I think only has 2. But I've seen some British ones with 3 of them, so who knows? But yeah, I have the 2 limited postcards, art cards here for Ico. I really like Ico. Like I said, it's not as good as Shadow of the Colossus, obviously, but it was a very unique game back in the day. The controls are very clunky, and some of the platforming sections are just awful, but I can look through my fingers and just, it's not a big deal for me. I really like the atmosphere and the characters and story. Right, some Jak and Daxter. So these are the 3rd and the 2nd games in the series. The 3rd one also has some bonus something. Includes bonus DVD disc. I don't have that one, so I don't know what's going on with that one. Maybe there was like a loose disc here in a different different container, but I don't have that one, so apparently it's not complete, so that's unfortunate, but not a big deal. Yeah, not a huge fan of either of these games. I never played them as a kid. I only played them a couple of years ago and wasn't really that impressed by them. The first one I'm missing on the PS2. That one I like. I like the best out of these games. Right. Another classic PS2 title that is, I think, very underrated. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. Park building simulator. Now, the PS4 and PS5 games, the Jurassic World Evolution titles, they are like this one. It's basically the same game, but obviously the new ones have more content in them. I played this game so many hours as I could, building my dinosaur park, waiting for. I used to have the game just running in the background while I was reading something. I was reading comic books and waiting for the DNA samples to process so I could get new dinosaurs that I could build for my park. Yeah, lots of good memories with this one. Right, next up, a Japanese title. This is the original Katamari Damacy. This was never released in a PAL region, so I picked up the Japanese one. The manuals for these Katamari games are just amazing. Full color, very nice, childlike manuals. Yeah. And how much did I pay for this? €1. Got it used from Tokyo for €1. Complete in box. Right, Kessen 3. I'll do a couple more games here, and then I'll stop the video. Kessen 3. This is a Dynasty Warriors, or by the same people who make Dynasty Warriors. I don't know if it's accurate to call it a spin-off, but I mean it's based on the same source material. So this is Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and this is a straight-up strategy game. I never finished this game. It hasn't. The Kessen games haven't aged well at all. They are very, very clunky, very slow-paced. I never finished it. I put it on the shelf as a game that I've played, even though I haven't finished it, just because I know that I'll never go back to it. So, all right. One of the criminally underrated PS2 titles, Killer 7. This is one of those early Suda titles. So this is a game by Grasshopper manufacturer. Or actually, this is before Grasshopper manufacturer existed. So released by Capcom. Just an insane rail shooter. One of the most stylish games out there. It's a rail shooter and has a lot of story in it. So you're an assassin tasked with killing 7 targets, and the storyline, I don't want to spoil anything, but the storyline is completely insane. Right, I'll finish this video with Kingdom Hearts. So the first and the second game. Now, the first Kingdom Hearts game I have the platinum for. I don't have the original black label, but I've kept this platinum simply because this is the copy of the game that I bought back in the day, and this is one of the most beloved PS2 titles for me. I picked this up with one of my sisters at a game store, just based on a cover. We like Disney, and then also there's the Final Fantasy Squaresoft stuff, but we like Disney, so we picked this up and started playing it, and just fell in love with this game, and this first game in particular. As I've said in one of the earlier videos, one of the PS3 videos, I'm not a huge fan of the second game. I think it's a step down in almost every possible way from the first game. But yeah, first game, this is the only platinum game that I have in a collection that I could get a black label for. I do have one other platinum, but that's for a very good reason. I'll talk about that in the next video. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts. I wish they hadn't. I wish they hadn't make the story so obnoxious. I wish the story was more centered around the Disney characters and the main trio of Sora, Riku, and Kairi, and not like the Xeno whatever people. All right, yeah. So that's the first part of my PS2 collection, and next time I will continue from the letter K with one of the best PS2 games ever made. So tune into that one in a couple of days. Thanks for watching. Bye.